Vibrate right, and life obeys your frequency is broadcasting right now. What signal are you sending? Every thought carries weight. Every emotion has voltage. You're emitting constantly. Reality responds to vibration, not effort. Most people are pushing. You'll learn to pull. What if you could tune yourself like a radio and suddenly life locks onto your station? This isn't metaphor, it's mechanics. And you've been using broken dials. Why do some people attract ease while others grind? What invisible force answers your inner state? Here's the final question. What happens when you stop asking life for things and start becoming the frequency they arrive on? Right now, in this exact moment, you are a broadcasting station. Not in some poetic, abstract way. Literally, your body is electromagnetic. Your nervous system runs on electrical impulses. Your heart generates a field that extends 3 feet beyond your skin. Scientists can measure it. Your brain produces frequencies that change based on your emotional state. Alpha waves when you're calm. Beta waves when you're alert. Theta waves when you're deeply relaxed. These aren't just internal events. They ripple outward. But here's what most people miss. You're not just producing these frequencies randomly. You're doing it in patterns, habitual patterns. If you spend most of your time anxious, you're broadcasting anxiety. If you spend most of your time frustrated, you're broadcasting frustration. And the field around you, the quantum field that some call the universe, that others call God, that scientists call the zero-point field, is reading that broadcast. It's listening, and it's responding. Think about the last week of your life. Not what you said you wanted, not what you hoped for or planned for. Think about what you actually felt, moment to moment. When you woke up, what was the first emotional tone that moved through you? Dread, excitement, numbness, gratitude? That tone set a frequency. When you sat in traffic or opened your email or talked to your partner, what frequencies were running? Impatience, resentment, joy, peace? Those frequencies were signals. And life was taking notes. You've probably heard the phrase like attracts like. You've probably rolled your eyes at it. Because if it were that simple, if you could just think positive thoughts and get positive results, everyone would do it. But you've tried thinking positive. You've tried affirmations. You've tried visualization. And maybe some things changed. Or maybe nothing did. So you concluded the whole thing was wishful thinking. New age nonsense. A way for people who already have money to sell books to people who don't. But what if the problem wasn't the law? What if the problem was your understanding of the mechanism? You weren't taught to work with frequency. You were taught to work with action. Do more, try harder, push through. Effort equals results. And in the physical world, that's partially true. If you want to build muscle, you lift weights. If you want to run faster, you train. But there's another layer. A layer where effort is not the currency. Where force actually repels what you want. Where the only thing that matters is the signal you're stabilizing at. Let me show you what I mean. There's a woman I'll call Sarah. She's been trying to find a relationship for 3 years. She's on the apps. She goes to events. She asks friends to set her up. She's doing everything right, as far as action goes. But every date ends the same way. Either the guy isn't interested or she's not interested, or there's chemistry but it fizzles. She comes home frustrated. She tells herself she's unlucky, that all the good ones are taken, that maybe she's too picky, or not attractive enough, or too successful and it intimidates men. She has 20 theories. None of them are the real reason. The real reason is that Sarah spends her days vibrating at the frequency of lack. Not because she's a negative person. She's lovely. But deep in her nervous system, there's a hum. A quiet, constant broadcast that says I'm alone. I'm not chosen. I'm not enough. She doesn't think these thoughts consciously, but her body holds them. And when she goes on a date, she's not just bringing her smile and her conversation. She's bringing that frequency. The men she meets feel it, not consciously. But their nervous systems pick it up, and they respond to it. They pull back. They lose interest. They ghost. Not because of anything she said or did, but because the signal underneath didn't match the words on top. One night, Sarah sits on her couch after another failed date. She's crying. She's tired. And in that exhaustion, something shifts. She stops trying. She stops thinking about strategies. She stops replaying the conversation looking for what she did wrong. She just sits there, and in that stillness a thought comes. What if I stopped looking for someone to complete me? What if I just felt complete right now? She doesn't try to make herself feel it. She just asks the question, and something in her chest softens. Over the next few weeks, she stops checking the apps obsessively. She stops saying yes to every setup. She starts doing things that make her feel alive. She takes a pottery class. She goes hiking alone. She cooks elaborate meals just for herself. She's not doing it to attract someone. She's doing it because it feels good. And without realizing it, her frequency changes. The hum of lack fades. A new tone emerges. Contentment, wholeness, aliveness. She's not broadcasting, "I need someone" anymore. She's broadcasting, "I'm full." 3 months later, she's at a coffee shop. She's not looking for anyone. She's reading a book. A man walks up and asks if the chair across from her is taken. They start talking. The conversation flows. He asks for her number. They go out. It's easy. It's natural. 6 months later, they're in love. And when Sarah tells her friends the story, she says, "I wasn't even trying." And she's right. She wasn't trying. She was vibrating, and life obeyed. Now let me be clear. This isn't about sitting on your couch and waiting for things to fall from the sky. Action matters. But action without aligned frequency is just noise. It's like trying to call someone on a phone with no signal. You can press the buttons all you want. You can dial perfectly. But if there's no connection, nothing happens. Frequency creates the connection. Action completes the circuit. So what is frequency exactly? It's the rate at which energy vibrates. Everything in the universe is energy. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, the chair you're sitting in, the air you're breathing. It all vibrates. Some things vibrate slowly. Solid matter, dense objects. Some things vibrate quickly. Light, sound, thought. And here's the key. Things that vibrate at similar rates are drawn to each other. They resonate. They sync up. This is physics, not philosophy. When you feel fear, your energy contracts. It vibrates at a low, dense frequency. When you feel love, your energy expands. It vibrates at a high light frequency. These aren't metaphors. These are measurable states. Your heart rate changes. Your brainwaves change. Your biochemistry changes. And the field around you registers that shift. It starts searching for matches, for experiences, people, circumstances that vibrate at that same rate. If you're vibrating fear, you'll magnetize situations that confirm fear. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because that's the frequency you're tuned to. It's like turning your radio dial to a station that plays heavy metal and then wondering why you're not hearing classical music. The music is out there, but you're not on that channel. This is why two people can take the same action and get completely different results. Two people apply for the same job, same resume, same qualifications. One gets hired. One doesn't. Why? The one who got hired wasn't just sending a resume. They were broadcasting confidence, worthiness, belonging. The other was broadcasting doubt, desperation, not enough. The hiring manager doesn't consciously think, "I'm picking up a frequency of desperation." But they feel it. It shows up as a vague sense of, "This person isn't the right fit," and they move on. You've experienced this yourself, even if you didn't name it. Think about a time when you walked into a room and immediately felt uncomfortable. Nobody said anything rude. Nothing overtly wrong happened. But you felt it. That's frequency. Think about a time when you met someone and instantly trusted them, or instantly didn't. That's frequency. Your nervous system is reading signals all the time, and it's sending them too. The question is, what signal are you sending? Most people have no idea. They go through their days on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, letting their emotions be dictated by external events. Someone cuts them off in traffic, they get angry. They get a compliment, they feel good. Their mood is a pinball, bouncing off whatever happens to them. And their frequency is all over the place, static, noise, no clear signal. So the universe has nothing consistent to respond to. But when you become deliberate about your frequency, everything changes. You stop being a victim of circumstance. You stop waiting for life to give you permission to feel good. You start generating the feeling first, and then life rearranges itself to match. This is the law of vibrational match. It's not a secret. It's been taught for thousands of years in different languages. Hermeticism called it the law of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. Buddhism calls it karma. What you put out comes back. Quantum physics calls it the observer effect. The act of observation changes the observed. Same law, different words. And here's the part that makes it real. It's not about thinking happy thoughts and pretending everything is fine. That's called spiritual bypassing, and it doesn't work. Because you can't fake frequency. Your subconscious mind is too smart. It knows what you really believe. It knows what you really feel. And it's the subconscious that does the broadcasting, not your conscious mind. So when you say affirmations in the mirror but deep down you don't believe them, you're not shifting frequency. You're just adding another layer of noise. The subconscious is still humming the old tune, and that's what life responds to. This is why so many people try manifestation techniques and feel like they failed. They didn't fail. They just tried to change the surface without changing the signal. Changing the signal requires going deeper. It requires looking at what you actually believe about yourself, about life, about what's possible. And most of those beliefs were installed before you could speak. They came from your parents, your culture, your early experiences. You didn't choose them, but you're still running them, and they're still broadcasting. Let's talk about a man I'll call David. He's a software engineer, talented, hardworking, but he's been stuck at the same salary level for 5 years. He's applied for promotions. He's taken on extra projects. He's done everything his manager suggested. But when the promotion comes, it goes to someone else. This has happened 3 times. David is bitter. He thinks the system is rigged, that his manager doesn't like him, that he's being overlooked. But here's what's actually happening. David grew up in a household where money was scarce. His parents fought about it constantly. He learned early that money is hard to get and easy to lose, that wanting more makes you greedy, that rich people are selfish. These beliefs are lodged in his subconscious, and even though consciously he wants a promotion, subconsciously he's terrified of it, terrified of being seen as greedy, terrified of having more than his parents had, terrified of losing it. So when he walks into a performance review, he's not just presenting his accomplishments, he's broadcasting ambivalence. One part of him is reaching for more, another part is pulling back. His manager doesn't hear him say, "I don't really want this." But they feel the mixed signal. It comes across as lack of confidence or lack of commitment, and they pass him over, not because he's not qualified, but because his frequency isn't aligned. David doesn't know any of this. He just knows he's frustrated. He keeps pushing harder, doing more, staying later. But nothing changes, because he's trying to solve a vibrational problem with action. It's like trying to fix a broken radio by turning up the volume. The static just gets louder. One day, David stumbles across a podcast about subconscious beliefs. Something clicks. He starts journaling, writing down his thoughts about money, about success, about what it means to have more. And he's shocked by what comes out. Thoughts he didn't know he was thinking, beliefs he didn't know he was holding. He writes, "I don't deserve more than my dad had." He writes, "Rich people are bad." He writes, "If I succeed, I'll lose my friends." Seeing it on paper is a jolt. He realizes he's been sabotaging himself, not consciously, but energetically, so he starts working with those beliefs. Not by arguing with them, but by feeling where they live in his body. There's a tightness in his chest when he thinks about asking for more money, a knot in his stomach when he imagines success. He sits with those sensations. He breathes into them. He doesn't try to fix them. He just acknowledges them. Over time, the knot loosens. The tightness softens, and a new thought emerges. What if I can be successful and kind? What if having more lets me give more? What if my parents' struggle doesn't have to be my story? He doesn't force these thoughts. They arise naturally as the old beliefs release, and with them, his frequency shifts. 6 months later, David gets a call from a recruiter. A different company is hiring for a senior position. The pay is 40% more than he's making. He almost doesn't apply. The old fear flickers, but he notices it. He breathes, he applies, he gets the job. And when he starts, he realizes something. He's not the same person who applied for those promotions before. He's carrying himself differently, speaking up differently, believing differently, and people respond to that. They see him as a leader, because he's finally vibrating like one. These stories aren't anomalies. They're how the law works. But you have to understand the mechanism. You have to see that your external reality is always a reflection of your internal frequency. Not sometimes. Always. And when you change the frequency, the reflection changes. It has to. It's law. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If this is true, why isn't everyone doing it? Why are so many people struggling if the solution is this simple? The answer is, it's simple, but it's not easy. Changing your frequency requires awareness. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to look at the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. Most people aren't willing to do that. It's easier to blame circumstances, to say the world is unfair, to stay stuck and comfortable in familiar suffering than to take responsibility for the signal you're sending. And there's another reason. You've been conditioned your entire life to look outside yourself for solutions. You've been taught that success comes from hard work, that love comes from finding the right person, that happiness comes from getting the right job, the right house, the right body. You've been taught that life happens to you, that you're at the mercy of fate or luck or other people's decisions. This conditioning is deep, and it keeps you focused on the external, on what you can see and touch and control. But the real power isn't out there. It's in here, in your frequency, in the signal you're emitting. And the moment you realize that, the moment you take responsibility for your vibration, everything shifts. You stop being a passenger, you become the driver. So how do you shift your frequency? The first step is awareness. You have to notice what you're vibrating, and the easiest way to do that is to look at your emotions. Because emotions are frequency made tangible. Every emotion has a vibrational signature. Fear vibrates low and slow. Anger vibrates slightly higher but still dense. Contentment vibrates higher still. Joy vibrates very high. Love vibrates highest. Your emotions are telling you in real time what signal you're broadcasting. If you're feeling anxious, you're vibrating lack. If you're feeling frustrated, you're vibrating resistance. If you're feeling peaceful, you're vibrating alignment. If you're feeling excited, you're vibrating expectancy. These aren't just feelings, they're broadcasts. And the universe is listening. Most people ignore their emotions. They numb them with work, with food, with distraction, or they indulge them, wallowing in anger or fear or victimhood. Neither approach changes the frequency. Numbing just suppresses it. Wallowing just amplifies it. The key is to notice the emotion without judgment, to feel it fully, to let it move through you, and then to choose a different frequency. This is where it gets practical. Let's say you notice you're feeling anxious. You're worried about money, about whether you're going to have enough. That's a low frequency. And if you stay there, you'll keep attracting experiences that match it. More bills, more lack, more reasons to worry. So you have to interrupt the pattern, not by pretending you're not anxious, but by acknowledging the anxiety and then consciously shifting to a higher frequency. Here's how you do it. First, you feel the anxiety. Where is it in your body? Chest, stomach, throat? You put your attention there. You breathe into it. You don't try to make it go away. You just observe it. This alone starts to shift the energy. Because when you observe something without resisting it, it loses its grip. Then you ask yourself a question. What would I be feeling? If this problem were already solved, not what would I have? Not what would I do? What would I feel? Maybe you'd feel relief, or confidence, or freedom. You let yourself imagine that feeling, not the circumstances that would create it, just the feeling itself. And you practice feeling it now, for 30 seconds, for a minute, for as long as you can sustain it. This isn't about pretending, it's about tuning. You're adjusting your dial. You're shifting from the frequency of lack to the frequency of fulfillment. And when you do this consistently, life starts to respond. Opportunities show up. Ideas come. People reach out. Not because you magically manifested them, but because you became a vibrational match for them. Let me give you a visualization to help with this. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine your body as a radio tower, tall, strong, grounded. At the top of the tower, there's a transmitter. It's sending out a signal. Right now, that signal is whatever you've been feeling most consistently. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's worry. Maybe it's frustration. See that signal as a color. What color is it? Dark red? Muddy brown? Gray? Just notice. Now imagine you have a dial at the base of the tower. You can turn it. As you turn it, the signal changes. The color shifts. Imagine turning the dial toward a color that feels lighter, brighter. Maybe it's yellow, or blue, or green. As the dial turns, the transmitter starts broadcasting this new color, this new frequency. See it radiating out from the top of the tower. See it spreading in all directions, filling the space around you. And as it spreads, notice how the environment responds. The air feels different. The light changes. Things start to shift. You don't have to know how. You just watch. That visualization is a tool. Use it whenever you notice yourself stuck in a low frequency. It trains your nervous system to shift, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Eventually, you won't need the visualization. You'll be able to shift your frequency with a single breath, with a single thought. But here's where most people get tripped up. They think frequency work is about feeling good all the time. It's not. You're human. You're going to feel the full range of emotions: sadness, anger, fear, grief. These aren't bad frequencies. They're part of the spectrum. The problem isn't feeling them. The problem is living in them, getting stuck there, letting them become your baseline. The goal is to feel what you feel fully, without resistance, and then to return to a higher baseline, to make joy or peace or contentment your default, rather than stress or worry or frustration. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, like building muscle. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be strong. You go consistently. You train, and over time, your capacity increases. The same is true with frequency. You train yourself to notice what you're feeling, to shift when you're stuck, to return to alignment. And over time, your baseline rises. What used to feel hard becomes easy. What used to trigger you barely registers. You become stable in a higher frequency, and your reality reflects that stability. Now let's talk about resistance, because this is the invisible force that keeps most people stuck. Resistance is the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's the tension between your current frequency and your desired frequency, and it's the number one reason people don't see results from manifestation work. Here's how resistance shows up. You set an intention. Let's say you want financial freedom. You visualize it. You affirm it. You feel excited about it. But underneath, there's a voice. A quiet, persistent voice that says, "But you've never had money before. But you don't know how to manage it. But people like you don't get wealthy." That voice is resistance. And as long as it's running, it's creating a counter-frequency. You're broadcasting two signals at once. One that says, "I want this," and one that says, "I can't have this." And the universe receives a mixed message. So nothing happens, or things start to happen and then fall apart. Resistance isn't something you fight. Fighting it just makes it stronger. Resistance dissolves when you acknowledge it, when you bring it into the light. When you look at it and say, "Okay, you're here. I see you. What are you trying to protect me from?" Because resistance always has a positive intention. It's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to prevent pain or failure or disappointment. It learned somewhere along the way that wanting things is dangerous. That success leads to loss. That visibility leads to attack. And it's doing its best to keep you small and safe. So you have to talk to it. Not out loud, but internally. You acknowledge it. You thank it for trying to protect you. And then you let it know you're safe now. You're capable now. You don't need that protection anymore. This sounds simple, but it's profound. Because when resistance feels seen and heard, it relaxes. And when it relaxes, the mixed signal clears. You're no longer broadcasting in two directions. You're broadcasting one coherent frequency. And life can finally respond. Let's go back to David for a moment. When he started working with his beliefs about money, he encountered massive resistance. Every time he tried to imagine himself earning more, his chest tightened. He felt guilty. He felt afraid. That tightness, that guilt, that fear, those were resistance. And if he'd tried to push through them, to override them with positive thinking, they would have persisted. But instead, he sat with them. He asked, "What are you afraid of?" And the resistance answered. It said, "If you have more, people will resent you. If you succeed, you'll be alone. If you rise, you'll fall." These weren't rational thoughts. They were old, embedded fears. David didn't argue with them. He just listened. And he said to them, "I understand. I see why you're scared, but I'm not a child anymore. I can handle this. I can be successful and connected. I can have more and be safe." The resistance didn't disappear immediately, but it softened. And over time, as David proved to himself that success didn't equal danger, the resistance faded. And with it, the mixed signal cleared. This is the work. It's not glamorous. It's not quick, but it's what creates lasting change. Because you're not just changing your thoughts. You're changing the underlying frequency. You're rewiring the subconscious. And when the subconscious is aligned with your desires, manifestation becomes inevitable. So how do you know if you have resistance? Simple. If you want something and it's not showing up, there's resistance. If you're taking action but not seeing results, there's resistance. If you're trying to manifest but it feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill, there's resistance. The question isn't whether it's there. The question is, what is it protecting you from? To find out, you have to get quiet. You have to stop the mental chatter and drop into your body, because resistance doesn't live in your head. It lives in your nervous system. It's a felt sense, a tension, a contraction. And when you bring your attention to it, it will speak, not in words necessarily, but in images, in memories, in sensations. And when you hear what it has to say, you can begin to release it. Here's an exercise to try. Think of something you want but haven't been able to manifest. Really see it in your mind. Now notice what happens in your body. Do you feel a tightness? A heaviness? A pulling back? That's resistance. Put your hand on that part of your body. Breathe into it. And ask it, what are you afraid of? Then listen. Don't force an answer. Just stay present and see what arises. You might get a memory. You might get a thought. You might just get a feeling. Whatever comes, acknowledge it. Say, I see you. I hear you. And then gently, lovingly say, I'm ready to release this. I'm safe now. You don't have to convince yourself. You don't have to believe it fully. Just offer the possibility. And notice if anything shifts. Do this exercise daily for a week. Watch how the resistance begins to soften. And as it does, watch how your frequency shifts. Watch how life starts to respond differently. This is the deep work. This is what creates transformation. Now let's talk about belief. Because belief is the foundation of frequency. What you believe about yourself, about life, about reality, determines what frequency you stabilize at. And most of your beliefs are invisible to you. They're running in the background like code. You don't question them. You assume they're true, but they're not truth. They're just patterns. Stories you've told yourself so many times they feel like fact. Here's an example. If you believe life is hard, you'll vibrate struggle, and you'll attract situations that require struggle. Not because life is inherently hard, but because your belief creates a filter. You only see the evidence that confirms it. You overlook the ease. You dismiss the flow, and you keep proving to yourself that yes, life is hard, but what if you change the belief? What if you started to believe life is supportive? At first it would feel like a lie. Your brain would reject it, because it has years of evidence to the contrary. But if you stayed with it, if you looked for proof of support, you'd start to find it. Small things at first. A stranger holding the door. A friend calling at the right time. A solution appearing out of nowhere. And as you collected this evidence, the belief would strengthen. Your frequency would shift, and life would start to reflect the new belief. This is how you rewrite your reality. Not by changing the external, but by changing the belief that's creating the frequency that's attracting the external. It's all an inside job. So what beliefs are you running? Take a moment and think about these areas. Money, love, success, health, worthiness. What's your default thought about each? Is it empowering or limiting? If it's limiting, you've found the frequency you need to shift. Let's say you believe you're not good at relationships. Where did that belief come from? Maybe a past breakup. Maybe watching your parents fight. Maybe a pattern of disappointment. Whatever the source, it installed a belief, and that belief has been broadcasting, so you keep attracting relationships that confirm it. Not because you're cursed, but because you're vibrating, I'm not good at this, and the universe is giving you exactly what you're asking for. To change it, you have to question the belief. Is it actually true, or is it just a story? Can you find evidence to the contrary? Times when you were good at relationships, moments of connection, experiences of love? When you start to poke holes in the belief, it loses power, and a new belief can take root. I'm learning to be good at relationships. I'm growing. I'm capable of love. And as that belief strengthens, your frequency shifts, and different people start to show up. Different experiences start to unfold. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about expanding your perspective, about recognizing that your beliefs are not facts, they're choices, and you can choose differently. Here's another reflective question for you. What would you believe about yourself if you had zero evidence? If you had no past, no failures, no criticisms, no comparisons, what would you choose to believe? That you're worthy? That you're powerful? That you're magnetic? Take a moment and feel into that. What would it be like to live from that belief? How would you carry yourself? How would you speak? How would you move through the world? That version of you is not fantasy. It's a frequency. But gratitude, like affirmations, doesn't work if it's superficial. If you're saying I'm grateful for my job while silently resenting it, you're not shifting frequency, you're just adding noise. Real gratitude is felt. It's a warmth in the chest, a softening, a recognition of goodness. And when you feel it, even for a moment, your frequency lifts and life responds. So start paying attention to where your attention goes. Notice how much time you spend replaying past hurts, worrying about future problems, comparing yourself to others, consuming negative news. All of that is feeding a low frequency, and the more you feed it, the stronger it gets. What if you redirected your attention? What if for one day you consciously focused on what's good, what's beautiful, what's working? Not by ignoring problems, but by balancing your focus. By giving equal airtime to the positive. Try it, see what happens. See if your mood shifts. See if your energy lifts. See if opportunities start to appear. That's frequency in action. Now let's talk about assumption. Because assumption is belief in motion. It's the story you're telling about what's going to happen next. And that story creates a trajectory. If you assume things will go wrong, you're broadcasting that frequency. And you'll find yourself on high alert, looking for problems, creating tension. And that tension will often create the very outcome you feared. But if you assume things will work out, you're broadcasting a different frequency, ease, trust, expectancy. And from that state, you move differently. You make different choices. You speak differently. And people respond to that. They feel your confidence, your calm, and they mirror it back. This is why people who expect success tend to get it. Not because they're lucky, but because their assumption creates a frequency. And that frequency shapes their behavior, their energy, their presence. And all of that influences outcomes. So what are you assuming about your life? About your future? About what's possible for you? Are you assuming struggle or flow? Are you assuming lack or abundance? Are you assuming you'll be rejected or received? Your assumption is a frequency, and it's broadcasting right now. To shift it, you have to practice assuming the best. Not naively, but intentionally. When you walk into a meeting, assume it will go well. When you send an email, assume you'll get a positive response. When you try something new, assume you'll succeed. And if you fail, assume it's feedback, not a verdict. This practice trains your nervous system to expect good things. And when you expect them, you become a magnet for them. Here's a scenario. You're about to have a difficult conversation with your partner. You're nervous. You're assuming they'll get defensive, that it will turn into a fight, that nothing will change. That assumption is creating a frequency of defeat before the conversation even starts. And when you walk in carrying that frequency, your partner feels it. They sense your expectation of conflict, and it primes them for it. So they do get defensive. And it does turn into a fight. And you think, see, I knew it. But you didn't predict the future. You created it. Now imagine you shift the assumption. You assume this conversation will bring you closer, that your partner will listen, that you'll find a solution together. You walk in carrying that frequency, openness, hope, partnership. Your partner feels that instead, and they respond differently. They soften, they listen, and even if it's still hard, there's a different quality to it. A possibility. This doesn't mean you can control other people with your frequency. You can't, but you can influence the field. You can create an environment that makes certain outcomes more likely, and that influence is more powerful than most people realize. Now, coherence. This is the secret ingredient that most people miss. You can have the right beliefs. You can shift your attention. You can practice assuming the best. But if you're not coherent, if your frequency is scattered or inconsistent, you won't see results. Because the universe doesn't respond to occasional signals. It responds to sustained ones. Think of it like this. If you're trying to tune into a radio station and you keep changing the dial every few seconds, you'll never lock onto a clear signal. You'll just get static. The same is true with frequency. If you're feeling confident one moment and doubtful the next, excited 1 hour and defeated the next, you're not giving the universe a clear signal to respond to. You're broadcasting noise. Coherence means staying in a frequency long enough for it to materialize. It means choosing a signal and holding it, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This is the hardest part, because life will test you. Things will happen that seem to contradict your desired frequency, and you'll be tempted to drop back into the old patterns, into fear, into lack, into doubt. But if you can stay coherent, if you can hold the frequency despite the external will shift to match. This is what faith really is, not blind belief, but the ability to maintain a frequency in the absence of evidence, to keep vibrating love when you feel alone, to keep vibrating abundance when your bank account is low, to keep vibrating health when your body is sick. not by denying reality, but by choosing the frequency you want to live into and trusting that reality will follow. Sarah, the woman looking for love, didn't find her partner because she went on more dates. She found him because she became coherent in the frequency of wholeness. She stopped bouncing between hope and despair. She stabilized. And once she stabilized, life could deliver. David didn't get his new job because he worked harder. He got it because he became coherent in the frequency of worthiness. He stopped oscillating between ambition and self-sabotage. He aligned, and once he aligned, the opportunity appeared. Coherence is the bridge between desire and manifestation, and it requires discipline. Not the discipline of force, but the discipline of return, of noticing when you've slipped out of alignment and gently bringing yourself back, over and over, until alignment becomes your default. So how do you build coherence? You practice. Every morning, you set your frequency. You decide consciously what signal you're going to broadcast today. Not based on what's happening, based on what you're choosing. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's confidence. You feel it in your body. You anchor it. And then, throughout the day, you check in. Am I still in this frequency, or have I drifted? If you've drifted, you bring yourself back. Not with judgment, with compassion. Like training a puppy, gentle, consistent. Over time, this practice strengthens your coherence. You'll find that you can hold a frequency for longer periods, that you're less reactive, less pulled by external circumstances, more stable in your center, and from that stability, you become a powerful creator. Now let's talk about living from the end. This is one of the most misunderstood concepts in manifestation work. People think it means visualizing your goal, seeing yourself in the new house, driving the new car, walking on the beach with your partner. And yes, visualization can be part of it, but that's not the core. The core is embodying the frequency of fulfillment now, not in the future. Now, most people live from the beginning, from the place of not having. They think when I get the thing, then I'll feel the feeling. When I get the money, I'll feel secure. When I find love, I'll feel whole. When I lose the weight, I'll feel confident. But this is backwards. The feeling doesn't come after. The feeling is what attracts the thing. Living from the end means you feel the feeling first. You embody the frequency of already having what you desire, not by pretending you have it, but by connecting to the emotional essence of it. If you want security, you practice feeling secure now. If you want love, you practice feeling love now. If you want confidence, you practice feeling confident now. And you do this regardless of external circumstances. This is a radical shift, because it means you stop waiting. You stop putting your life on hold until conditions are right. You start living as the person who already has what you want. And when you do that, you send a clear, coherent signal, a signal that says, I am this. And the universe responds by bringing you experiences that match. Here's how you practice it. Choose one thing you desire. Don't think about the how or the when. Just focus on the essence. What would it feel like to have this? Close your eyes and drop into that feeling. Maybe it's relief. Maybe it's excitement. Maybe it's calm. Let yourself feel it fully. Let it fill your body. And then open your eyes and carry that feeling into your day. Let it inform how you move, how you speak, how you show up. This is living from the end. And here's what will happen. At first, it will feel strange, maybe even fake, because your circumstances don't match the feeling. But if you stay with it, if you practice it daily, something shifts. The feeling becomes more natural. It becomes your baseline. And as it does, your actions change. Your energy changes. And life begins to rearrange itself. You'll notice opportunities you didn't see before. You'll have ideas you didn't have before. You'll meet people you wouldn't have met before. Not because you're suddenly lucky, but because your frequency has shifted, and you're now a match for these things. Living from the end also means detachment. And this is where people get confused. They think detachment means not caring. It doesn't. It means not gripping, not forcing, not obsessing over the outcome. When you're gripping, you're broadcasting lack. You're saying, I don't have this and I need it desperately. That's a low frequency, and it repels what you want. But when you... So practice wanting without needing. Practice enjoying the desire itself, without attachment to the outcome. And watch how life responds. Watch how things start to flow to you with ease. Let me share one more scenario. There's a woman I'll call Maya. She's an artist, talented, but unknown. She's been trying to get her work into galleries for years. She sends submissions. She networks. She posts on social media. But nothing sticks. She's frustrated. She's starting to wonder if she's good enough. If she should just give up and get a real job. One day she's in her studio. She's not working on anything for a show. She's just painting for herself. And for the first time in months, she feels free. She's not thinking about whether anyone will like it. She's not trying to make something marketable. She's just creating. And the painting that emerges is raw, honest, alive. She loves it. And that love, that joy in the creation itself, shifts something in her. She stops hustling. She stops forcing. She starts painting just for the pleasure of it. And as she does, her work deepens. It becomes more authentic, more powerful. She posts a few pieces online, not to get likes, but just to share. And one of those posts is seen by a gallery owner. The owner reaches out. They love her work. They want to feature her in a show. Maya is stunned. She didn't do anything differently, she thinks, but she did. She shifted her frequency. She stopped creating from lack, from the need to be seen, to be validated. And she started creating from fullness, from love, from presence. And that frequency was magnetic. It drew the opportunity to her. This is living from the end. Maya wasn't waiting to feel like a successful artist. She was being one. She was doing what successful artists do, creating from joy, from passion, from truth. And life responded by reflecting that frequency back to her. So, what does living from the end look like for you? If you already had what you desire, how would you be living today? What would you be doing? How would you be feeling? Start living that way now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for proof. Just step into it and watch what happens. Now, signs and synchronicities. These are the breadcrumbs, the feedback from the universe that you're on the right track. When you start to shift your frequency, you'll notice them. Numbers appearing repeatedly, songs with relevant lyrics playing at just the right moment, conversations that answer questions you've been pondering, people reaching out of the blue. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmation. The universe is saying yes. You're tuning in. Keep going. And the more you notice them, the more they appear. Because attention amplifies. When you start looking for signs, you start seeing them everywhere. But here's the caution. Don't become dependent on them. Don't wait for a sign to believe. Signs are nice. They're encouraging. But they're not the point. The point is your frequency. If you're shifting your frequency and signs aren't appearing, it doesn't mean it's not working. It just means you're not noticing them yet. Or it means your sign is coming in a form you're not expecting. Stay focused on the internal, on how you feel, on what you're vibrating. The external will follow. It always does. And when signs do appear, receive them with gratitude. Say thank you. Smile. Feel the confirmation. And then let it go. Don't grip it. Don't overthink it. Just let it be a gentle nod from the universe that you're in alignment. Here's a reflective question. What signs have you been ignoring? What synchronicities have you dismissed as random? Look back over the last week. What aligned? What flowed? What arrived unexpectedly? Those are your signs, and they're telling you something. They're telling you that your frequency is working, that life is listening, that you're on the path. Now, the 72-hour resonance test. This is where you prove the law to yourself. Because intellectual understanding is one thing, direct experience is another. And until you experience it, there will always be doubt. So let's remove the doubt. Here's the test. Choose something small, specific, something you can verify easily. Maybe it's a free coffee. Maybe it's a text from a specific person. Maybe it's finding a coin on the ground. Something that's not a big deal, but that would be unmistakable if it happened. Once you've chosen your thing, set a timer for 72 hours. For the next 3 days, your only job is to hold the frequency of already having that thing. Not thinking about it constantly. Not obsessing. Just feeling, whenever you remember, the satisfaction of it. The knowing. The doneness. You practice assuming it's already on its way. You practice gratitude in advance. You practice detachment, and then you wait. You go about your life. You don't force anything. You don't manipulate circumstances. You just hold the frequency, and you watch what happens. Most people who do this test are shocked because the thing shows up. Not always exactly how they imagined, but it shows up. And when it does, it shifts something. It moves manifestation from theory to reality, from belief to knowing. If it doesn't show up, it's not because the law doesn't work. It's because there was interference. Mixed signals, resistance, doubt. So you adjust. You try again. You refine your frequency, and you keep practicing until you get it. Because this law is reliable. It's not fickle. It doesn't play favorites. It responds to frequency, every time. So commit to the test. Choose your thing, set your timer, hold your frequency, and see what happens. Let life prove itself to you. As you move through this work, you'll start to notice a shift in your identity. You'll stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying to manifest, and you'll start seeing yourself as someone who naturally attracts, someone who is magnetic, someone who creates with their energy. This shift in identity is the final piece, because identity determines frequency at the deepest level. If you identify as someone who struggles, you'll vibrate struggle. If you identify as someone who's unlucky, you'll vibrate bad luck. If you identify as someone who's not enough, you'll vibrate lack. But if you identify as someone who is powerful, who is worthy, who is abundant, you'll vibrate those frequencies, and your reality will reflect them. So who are you? Not who do you want to be. Who are you right now choosing to be? This is not about ego. It's not about arrogance. It's about recognizing your true nature. You are not a body with a soul. You are a soul with a body. You are consciousness having a physical experience. And consciousness is creative. It's powerful. It's limitless. When you identify with that, when you remember that, everything changes. You stop asking, can I manifest this? And you start knowing I am already creating this. You stop wondering if you're worthy. And you start living as worthiness itself. You stop seeking validation from the external. And you start radiating value from the internal. This is mastery. Mastery doesn't mean you never feel fear or doubt. It means you don't let those feelings dictate your frequency. It means you feel them, acknowledge them, and choose alignment anyway. It means you become the tuning fork. The stable, consistent signal that shapes the field around you. And here's what happens when you reach this level. Life becomes easier. Not because challenges disappear, but because you're no longer in resistance to them. You trust the process, you trust yourself. You know that whatever shows up, you can handle. You know that your frequency creates your reality, and you take full responsibility for it. Not in a heavy way, in an empowering way. You become someone who asks not what is life doing to me, but what am I creating with my energy? And that question changes everything, because now you're in the driver's seat. You're no longer a victim. You're a creator. And creators don't wait for circumstances to change. They change their frequency and watch circumstances rearrange. This is the promise. This is what's available to you. Not someday. Not when you're more spiritual or more evolved. Now. Because you already have everything you need. You already are everything you need. You just have to remember. And remembering is a choice, a practice, a return. So here's your final reflective question. If you fully owned your power as a creator, if you fully accepted that your frequency shapes your reality, what would you change? What frequency would you choose? What life would you build? Don't filter the answer. Don't make it small. Don't worry about how. Just feel into the bigness of it, the possibility, the truth. You are not here to play small. You're not here to settle. You're not here to wait for permission. You're here to create, to express, to expand. And the tool you've been given is frequency. Learn to wield it, practice it, master it, and watch as life bends toward you. Not because you're special, but because you're finally aligned with how reality works. This is the end of asking life to obey. This is the beginning of becoming the command. Your frequency is your power. Tune it, trust it, and let life obey. As you move forward from here, remember that this is not a one-time shift. It's a daily practice, a moment-to-moment choice. You'll forget. You'll slip back into old patterns. You'll doubt. And that's okay. That's part of being human. The mastery is in the return, in noticing you've drifted and gently bringing yourself back to alignment, over and over, without judgment, with compassion. Some days will be easy. You'll wake up vibrating high. You'll feel connected. You'll see synchronicities everywhere. Other days will be hard. You'll wake up heavy. You'll feel disconnected. You'll wonder if any of this is real. Both are part of the journey. The key is to not judge the hard days, not to see them as failure. They're just contrast. Think of yourself as an instrument. An instrument needs tuning regularly. It doesn't mean the instrument is broken. It just means it's being used. It's being played. And in the playing, it naturally goes slightly out of tune. So you tune it again. You adjust. You recalibrate. This is the work. And it's lifelong. But it gets easier. The more you practice, the faster you notice when you're out of tune. The quicker you can adjust. And eventually you spend more time in alignment than out of it. Let's talk about what to expect as you do this work. First, you might experience resistance from people around you. When you start to change, when you start to vibrate differently, the people in your life will notice. They might not understand it. They might feel threatened by it. Because your growth highlights their stagnation. Your alignment highlights their misalignment. And that can be uncomfortable for them. Some people will celebrate you. They'll cheer you on. They'll be inspired by your transformation. Those are your people. Treasure them. But others will push back. They'll try to pull you back into old patterns. They'll criticize. They'll mock. They'll question. Not because they're bad people, but because your change disrupts the dynamic. It threatens the status quo. Don't let their resistance derail you. Stay in your frequency. Understand that their reaction is about them, not you, and give them space to adjust. Some will come along, some won't, and that's okay. You're not responsible for managing other people's comfort with your growth. You're responsible for your own alignment. Second, you might experience what's called a manifestation lag. You shift your frequency, but the external doesn't change immediately. This can be discouraging. You might think it's not working. But remember, physical reality is dense. It takes time for energy to condense into form. The universe is rearranging. Things are moving behind the scenes. Just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not happening. This is where faith comes in, where coherence comes in. You have to hold the frequency even when you don't see evidence, even when it looks like nothing is changing. Because the moment you drop the frequency, you reset the process. You send a mixed signal, and things stall. So trust the lag. Know that it's part of the process, and keep vibrating. The results will come. They always do. It's law. Third, you might experience what feels like things getting worse before they get better. This is actually a positive sign. It means you're purging. When you raise your frequency, anything that's not in alignment with that frequency has to leave. Old relationships, old jobs, old patterns, they fall away. And in the moment, it can feel like loss, like failure. But it's actually clearing, making space for what's aligned to enter. Don't resist this phase. Let things fall away. Grieve if you need to. But don't cling. Trust that what's leaving needed to leave, and that what's coming is better. This is the universe working in your favor, even when it doesn't feel like it. Fourth, you might experience moments of profound clarity. Sudden insights, aha moments, downloads of information. This is your higher self communicating with you. It's been trying to reach you all along, but the old frequency was too noisy. Now that you're tuning in, you can hear it. Pay attention to these moments. Write them down. Act on them. They're guidance, and they're always leading you toward alignment. Fifth, you might experience increased sensitivity. You'll start to feel other people's energy more acutely. You'll notice when you're in a low-vibe environment. You'll feel drained by certain people. This isn't a problem. It's discernment. Your system is becoming more refined, more attuned. Honor it. Protect your energy. Spend time with people who uplift you, in environments that nourish you. You're not being selfish. You're being wise. As you continue this practice, you'll develop your own rituals, your own ways of tuning in. Maybe it's a morning meditation. Maybe it's a walk in nature. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's music. Find what works for you, what helps you connect to your frequency, and make it non-negotiable. This isn't indulgence. It's maintenance. Just like you wouldn't skip brushing your teeth, don't skip your frequency work and be patient with yourself. This is a skill. You're learning a new language, the language of energy, of vibration, of resonance. It takes time to become fluent. You'll make mistakes. You'll misread signals. You'll slip out of alignment. That's all part of learning. Don't berate yourself. Don't give up. Just keep practicing. Keep tuning. Keep returning. Remember, you're not doing this to become someone you're not. You're doing this to remember who you are, to strip away the layers of conditioning, the false beliefs, the inherited limitations, and to reveal the powerful, magnetic, creative being you've always been. This is not self-improvement. This is self-revelation. And as you reveal yourself, as you step into your power, you'll inspire others. Not by preaching, not by convincing, but by being, by living as an example of what's possible. People will feel your frequency. They'll see your results, and they'll want what you have. When they ask, share freely, but don't force it. Everyone is on their own timeline. Respect that your job is not to save anyone. Your job is to master your own frequency, to become so aligned, so coherent, so magnetic that you naturally uplift the field around you. That's how you change the world. Not by fixing everyone else, but by becoming a living example of alignment. So as we close, I want to leave you with this. You came into this life with a mission, a purpose, a unique frequency that only you can broadcast. And the world needs it. The world is waiting for it. But you can't give it if you're out of tune. You can't share it if you're stuck in low frequencies. You have to do the work. You have to tune yourself. You have to align. And when you do, when you vibrate right, life obeys. Not because life is subservient, but because you're finally in harmony with how it works. You're dancing with the universe instead of fighting it. You're co-creating instead of demanding. You're allowing instead of forcing. This is the shift. This is the transformation. From struggle to ease. From lack to abundance. From fear to love. From victim to creator. It's all available to you. Right now. In this moment. You don't have to wait. You don't have to earn it. You just have to choose it. Choose the frequency. And watch everything change. Your life is a reflection of your vibration. If you don't like the reflection, change the vibration. It's that simple. Not easy, but simple. And you have all the tools you need. You have your awareness, your breath, your choice, your attention, your belief, your frequency. Use them, practice them, master them, and become the most magnetic version of yourself. The version that attracts with ease, that creates with joy, that lives in flow. That version is not a fantasy. It's your birthright. Claim it, vibrate right, and life will obey. Not someday, not when you're perfect, now, because you're ready. You've always been ready. You just needed the reminder. Consider this your reminder, your permission slip, your invitation. Step into your power, own your frequency, and let the world respond, because it will. It always does. That's the law, and the law is on your side. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being willing to look at yourself honestly. Thank you for being brave enough to change. The world is better because you're tuning in. Keep going. Keep vibrating. Keep creating. Your masterpiece is unfolding. And it's going to be beautiful. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The beginning of a new way of being. A new way of creating. A new relationship with reality. You're not the same person who started this audiobook. You've shifted. Something has changed. Honor that. Build on that. And never forget, your frequency is your power. Use it wisely. Use it consciously. Use it fully. The universe is listening. What are you broadcasting? Make it count. Make it true. Make it yours. And watch as life reshapes itself around the signal you send. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your frequency. Vibrate right. And let everything you desire find its way to you. Not through force. Through resonance. Not through hustle. Through alignment. Not through desperation. Through magnetism. You are the tuning fork. The world is the response. Set your tone, hold it steady, and watch reality compose itself around you. You have everything you need. You are everything you need. Now go forth and create the life that's been waiting for you. The life that matches your highest frequency. The life where you wake up excited. Where synchronicities are normal. Where opportunities flow. Where love is abundant. Where success is natural. That life is not a dream. It's a frequency, and you can tune into it right now. So take a deep breath. Feel your power. Acknowledge your worth. Choose your frequency, and step forward into the reality you're creating, because you are creating it. Every moment, with every thought, with every emotion, with every choice. You're the artist. Life is the canvas, and your frequency is the brush. Paint something extraordinary. Paint something authentic. Paint something that makes your soul sing. And know that as you do, you're not just changing your life. You're changing the world, because every person who steps into alignment raises the collective frequency. Every person who chooses love over fear, abundance over lack, trust over control, lifts the whole. You matter. Your frequency matters. Your alignment matters. Never doubt that. Never diminish that. You are a powerful creator in a responsive universe. Act like it. Live like it. Be it. And watch miracles become normal. Watch manifestation become natural. Watch. Because when you vibrate right, when you tune into the highest version of yourself, when you align with your truth, with your power, with your purpose, life has no choice but to obey. Not because you're controlling it, but because you're finally in sync with it. You're finally speaking the same language. You're finally dancing to the same rhythm. Now let's get even more practical, because understanding the principles is one thing. Living them daily is another. What I'm about to share with you are the specific practices, the daily rhythms, the micro adjustments that will turn this knowledge into lived experience. This is where theory becomes mastery. Let's start with the morning frequency protocol. The first 30 minutes of your day set the tone for everything that follows. Most people wake up and immediately check their phone. They scroll through news, emails, messages. They let the external world dictate their internal state before they've even gotten out of bed. This is handing your power away. This is letting circumstance choose your frequency. Here's what you do instead. The moment you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before you think about your to-do list, you take 3 deep breaths. Slow, intentional. You feel your body. You notice where you are. You anchor yourself in the present moment. Then you ask yourself one question. What frequency do I choose to broadcast today? Not what do I have to do? Not what problems await me? What frequency do I choose? Maybe it's calm. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's curiosity. You choose one word, one feeling, and you let yourself feel it. You don't wait for a reason to feel it. You generate it. You create it from nothing. This is your power. This is you taking the reins. Spend 5 minutes feeling this frequency. Let it fill your chest. Let it radiate through your limbs. Let it become your baseline before the day begins. This practice alone will transform your life. Because you're no longer reacting, you're creating. You're setting the signal before life starts broadcasting at you. After you've established your frequency, you write it down. One sentence. Today I am vibrating calm. Today I am vibrating confidence. Today I am vibrating abundance. You write it by hand. There's something about the physical act of writing that embeds it deeper. That tells your nervous system this is real. This is intentional. Then you go about your morning, shower, coffee, breakfast, but you carry that frequency with you. You check in with it periodically. Am I still in calm? Or have I drifted? If you've drifted, you don't judge. You just return. One breath, one reminder, back to the frequency you chose. This is the foundation. This is non-negotiable. Every single day, no exceptions. Because consistency creates coherence, and coherence creates results. One day of good frequency won't change your life. 30 days will, 90 days will, a year will. This is how you reprogram your baseline. Now let's talk about the midday reset. Because even with a strong morning practice, you'll drift. Life will pull at you. Stress will creep in. Old patterns will resurface. This is normal. The key is catching it early, not letting it compound. Set 3 alarms on your phone. 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening. When the alarm goes off, you pause. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you take 1 minute. You close your eyes if you can. If not, you just soften your gaze, and you scan your body. Where are you holding tension? Jaw, shoulders, stomach. You breathe into that place. You let it soften. Then you ask yourself, what frequency am I in right now? You name it. Frustration, anxiety, overwhelm, whatever it is. You don't judge it. You just name it. And then you ask, is this the frequency I choose? If not, what do I choose instead? You take 3 breaths. You feel the new frequency. You let it replace the old one. And you continue with your day. This reset takes 60 seconds, but it prevents hours of misalignment. It keeps you on track. It reminds you that you're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're the one choosing. Do this 3 times a day, every day, for 30 days. And watch what happens. Watch how much more stable you become. How much less reactive. How much more in control of your inner state. This is the practice. This is the work. And it's simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. It requires commitment. It requires discipline. But the payoff is immeasurable. Now let's talk about evening integration. The last hour before sleep is as important as the first hour after waking. Because your subconscious mind is most receptive when you're in that liminal state between waking and sleeping. What you feed it during this time gets embedded deep. Most people watch TV until they fall asleep, or scroll their phone in bed, or replay the problems of the day. They go to sleep in a low frequency, and they wonder why they wake up tired, why they have anxious dreams, why they can't seem to shift their baseline. It's because they're programming their subconscious with noise every single night. Here's what you do instead. 1 hour before bed, you turn off screens. All of them: phone, computer, TV. You create a buffer between the external world and your inner world. You take a warm shower or bath. You dim the lights. You signal to your nervous system that it's time to wind down. Then you sit. You can be in bed. You can be in a chair. Doesn't matter. You close your eyes and you review your day. Not with judgment, not with criticism, just with observation. What frequency was I in today? When did I align? When did I drift? What triggered me? What brought me back? You take note, not to beat yourself up, but to learn, to see the patterns, to understand your frequency habits. This awareness is the first step to change. You can't shift what you don't see. After you've reviewed, you release. You visualize everything that happened today flowing out of you, like water down a drain. You let go of the frustration, the disappointment, the wins, the losses, all of it. You clear your field. You come back to neutral, and then you set your intention for sleep. You say, either aloud or silently, as I sleep, I integrate today's lessons. I release what no longer serves me. I align with my highest frequency. My subconscious mind recalibrates to abundance, to love, to truth. I wake up refreshed and aligned. You say this with feeling, with intention, and then you go to sleep. Your subconscious will do the work while you rest. It will process. It will integrate. It will align. This is not magical thinking. This is how the mind works. You're simply directing it instead of letting it run wild. Do this every night. Make it sacred. Make it non-negotiable. And watch how your baseline frequency begins to shift. Watch how you wake up feeling different. How your days unfold with more ease. How life starts to reflect the signal you're embedding every single night. Now let's talk about relapse proofing. Because here's the truth nobody tells you. You will slip. You will have bad days. You will fall back into old frequencies. And when that happens, you'll be tempted to think you failed. That this doesn't work. That you're not cut out for this. But relapse is not failure. Relapse is data. Every time you slip out of alignment, you're learning something. You're seeing what triggers you. What vulnerabilities you still have. What beliefs are still running underneath. This is valuable information. Don't waste it by spiraling into self-judgment. Use it. Learn from it. Adjust. Here's how you relapse-proof. First, you anticipate. You know that stress will come, that challenges will arise, that life will test you. So you prepare. You create a relapse protocol. A set of actions you take when you notice you've slipped into a low frequency and can't seem to climb out. Your protocol might look like this. Step 1, pause. Stop what you're doing. Step 2, breathe. 5 deep breaths. Slow inhale through the nose. Slow exhale through the mouth. Step 3, name the frequency. I'm in fear. I'm in anger. I'm in victimhood. Step 4, acknowledge. I see you. I feel you. You're trying to protect me. Thank you. Step 5, choose. But I'm safe now. I choose alignment. I choose my frequency. Step 6, anchor. You do something physical that represents the new frequency. Maybe you stand up. Maybe you splash water on your face. Maybe you put on a song that lifts you. Something tangible that signals to your nervous system we're shifting now. Write this protocol down. Put it somewhere visible. On your bathroom mirror. In your wallet. On your phone. And when you relapse, when you notice you've been in a low frequency for hours or days, you pull out the protocol. You follow it. Step by step. No thinking. No debating. Just action. This removes the paralysis. Because when you're in a low frequency, your brain is foggy. You can't think clearly. You can't remember what to do. But if you have a protocol, you don't have to think. You just follow the steps. And the steps bring you back. Second, you create a frequency lifeline. This is a list of people, places, activities that reliably lift your frequency. Maybe it's a specific friend who always makes you laugh. Maybe it's a walk in a particular park. Maybe it's a certain song or podcast or book. You write down 10 things that consistently raise your vibration. And when you're in relapse, when you're stuck, you go to the list. You pick one. You do it. You don't wait until you feel like it. You don't negotiate. You just do it. Because you can't think your way out of a low frequency. You have to act your way out. You have to physically shift your state. And your lifeline gives you the roadmap. Third, you practice self-compassion. This is the hardest part for most people. Because when you relapse, your inner critic gets loud. It tells you you're weak, that you're failing, that you'll never change. And if you... Here's what you say to yourself. I'm human. I'm learning. Slipping is part of the process. It doesn't mean I'm broken. It means I'm stretching. I'm growing. And growth is messy. I forgive myself. I release the judgment. And I choose to return to alignment now. Not because I have to, but because I want to, because I know who I am. And I'm choosing to remember. Say this every time you relapse, out loud if possible, and mean it, feel it. Let it soften the grip of shame. Let it create space for you to choose again, because shame keeps you stuck. Compassion sets you free. Fourth, you track your relapses, not to obsess over them, but to see the patterns. Keep a simple journal. Date, what triggered the relapse, how long it lasted, what brought you back. Do this for 30 days, and then review. You'll start to see themes. Maybe you relapse every time you have a conflict with your partner. Maybe it's when you're sleep deprived. Maybe it's when you've been consuming too much news. Once you see the pattern, you can address it. You can put boundaries in place. You can create preemptive practices. You can protect your frequency before it dips. This is mastery, not never falling, but falling less often, and getting up faster each time. Now let me introduce you to someone else, a man I'll call James. James is a teacher. He loves his work, but he's exhausted. He's been teaching for 15 years and he's burning out. He wakes up dreading the day. He's short with his students. He comes home depleted. He knows he needs a change, but he feels trapped. He has bills. He has responsibilities. He can't just quit. James learns about frequency work. He's skeptical, but he's desperate. So he tries. He starts with the morning protocol. He chooses his frequency before getting out of bed. The first day, he chooses patience. He feels it for 5 minutes. And then he goes to work. The day unfolds. And it's hard. His students are chaotic. His energy is low. By lunch, he's forgotten his frequency entirely. He's back in frustration, in resentment, in exhaustion. He goes home defeated. He thinks this doesn't work. I'm too far gone, but something in him decides to try again. The next morning, he does the protocol again. He chooses patience again, and this time he sets the midday alarms. When the first alarm goes off, he's in the middle of a difficult class. But he pauses. He takes 1 minute. He breathes. He checks his frequency. He's in frustration. He acknowledges it. He chooses patience again. He takes 3 breaths, and he continues. The shift is subtle, but it's there. He's slightly calmer, slightly more present. By the end of the day, he's not elated, but he's not destroyed either. He's stable, and that's new. He keeps going. Day 3, day 4, day 5. The alarms keep him anchored. The morning practice gives him a foundation. The evening integration helps him process, and slowly, week by week, something shifts. He's not dreading work as much. He's finding moments of joy with his students. He's coming home with energy left. 3 months in, something unexpected happens. He gets an email. A friend of a friend is starting an education nonprofit. They're looking for a curriculum designer. It's exactly what James has been daydreaming about for years. But he never pursued it because he didn't think he was qualified. He almost deletes the email. The old frequency whispers, "You can't do this. You're just a teacher." But then he remembers. He's been practicing a different frequency: confidence, worthiness, possibility. And from that frequency, a different thought arises. Why not? He applies. He gets an interview. He gets the job. And 6 months later, he's in a career he loves, making the same money, but feeling completely different. James didn't manifest the job by visualizing it. He didn't even know it existed. But he shifted his frequency from burnout to possibility. And from that frequency, he became a match for the opportunity. He carried himself differently in the interview. He spoke with more confidence. He believed he deserved it. And that belief, that frequency, made the difference. This is how it works in real life. You don't always get exactly what you picture, but you always get what matches your frequency. And sometimes what matches is better than what you imagined. Now let's talk about the 7-day frequency immersion. This is a practice you do once a quarter, a week where you go all in on frequency work, where you create an environment that supports your alignment and you eliminate everything that disrupts it. This is your recalibration, your deep tuning, your reset. Here's how it works. You pick a week. You clear your calendar as much as possible. You're still going to work, still handling responsibilities, but you eliminate all optional commitments. No social events unless they truly uplift you. No obligations born from guilt. You create spaciousness. Day 1 of the immersion, you audit your environment. You look at everything around you. Your home, your car, your workspace. What frequencies are present? Is there clutter creating chaos? Is there darkness creating heaviness? Are there objects that carry old memories, old energies that no longer serve you? You take note, then you clean. Not just surface cleaning, deep cleaning. You clear the clutter. You open the windows. You let light in. Use sage or use incense if that resonates. You're not just cleaning the physical space, you're clearing the energetic field. You're creating an environment that supports high frequency. Day 2, you audit your inputs. What are you consuming? What news, what social media, what conversations, what music, what TV shows? Everything you take in affects your frequency. Most people are unconscious about this. They consume junk frequency the way they consume junk food, and then they wonder why they feel heavy. You make a list of all your inputs. Then you rate each one. Does this raise my frequency? Lower it, keep it neutral, be honest, then you commit. For this week, you eliminate everything that lowers your frequency. Cold turkey, no news, no drama shows, no toxic social media, no complaining conversations. You create a clean frequency diet, and you replace those inputs with high-frequency ones. Uplifting music, inspiring podcasts, nature sounds, meaningful conversations with people who see the best in you, books that expand you, content that nourishes your soul. You become militant about what you allow into your field, because you're proving to yourself how much inputs matter. Day 3, you audit your language. How are you speaking? What words are you using most often? Are you complaining, gossiping, catastrophizing? Language is frequency made audible. Every word carries a vibration. And the words you use most shape your reality. For today, you become hyper-aware. You listen to yourself. You notice every complaint, every criticism, every negative statement, and you catch yourself. You pause. You rephrase. Instead of "this is so hard," you say "I'm working through a challenge." Instead of "I can't afford this," you say "I'm choosing to allocate my resources elsewhere." Instead of "I'm so tired," you say "I'm ready for rest." This isn't about being fake. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that your words program your subconscious, and your subconscious creates your frequency. So you choose words that align with the frequency you want to live in. Day 4, you audit your relationships. Who are you spending time with? Who lifts you? Who drains you? Who sees your potential? Who reinforces your limitations? You can't control other people, but you can control your exposure. And during this immersion week, you minimize contact with frequency drains. This doesn't mean you ghost people. It means you protect your energy. You respond to texts instead of calling. You keep conversations brief. You set boundaries. And you maximize time with frequency lifters. The people who believe in you, who celebrate you, who remind you of who you're becoming. You lean into those relationships. You let them support your alignment. Day 5, you practice the ultimate frequency exercise. You spend the entire day assuming everything is working in your favor. Every single thing that happens, you interpret through the lens of "this is happening for me, not to me." Traffic jam? It's protecting me from something ahead. Canceled meeting? It's creating space for something better. Unexpected bill? It's teaching me to trust my resourcefulness. This is not toxic positivity. This is reframing. It's training your brain to look for the gift instead of the curse. And what you'll discover is that this assumption changes everything. It changes your mood, your energy, your decisions, your interactions. By the end of the day, you'll have proof that this lens is more accurate than the victim lens. Because when you assume life is for you, you find evidence everywhere. Day 6, you integrate silence. No music, no podcast, no TV, no input, just you and your thoughts. This is uncomfortable for most people, because when the noise stops, you have to face what's underneath. But this is necessary. This is where the real work happens. You spend the day in silence, or as much of it as possible, and you listen to your inner voice, to your intuition, to the wisdom that's been drowned out by constant stimulation. You journal, you walk, you sit, you feel, and you let whatever needs to surface. Old grief, suppressed anger, hidden fear. You don't push it away. You let it move through you. This is clearing. This is purging. This is making space for the new frequency to stabilize. Day 7, you celebrate. You review the week. You write down what you learned. What shifted? What surprised you? You acknowledge yourself for doing the work, for showing up, for choosing alignment over comfort. And you set your intention for the next quarter. You choose one frequency to focus on, one quality to embody, and you commit to daily. This 7-day immersion is powerful. It's a reset that goes deep, and the results compound. The first time you do it, you'll notice a shift. The second time, a bigger shift. By the 4th time, you'll be unrecognizable. Do this once every 3 months. Make it sacred. Make it non-negotiable. This is how you build a high-frequency life. Now let's talk about micro-challenges. These are small daily practices that stretch your frequency muscles. They're not huge commitments. They're tiny actions that signal to the universe and to yourself that you're serious about this work. I'm going to give you 30 of them, one for each day of the month. You can do them in order or pick randomly, but do one every single day. Day 1 micro challenge. Compliment 3 strangers. Genuinely. Notice something beautiful about them and tell them. The cashier's smile. The barista's efficiency. The person on the street's shoes. This lifts their frequency and yours. It trains you to look for beauty. To speak it. To spread it. Day 2. Say no to something you'd normally say yes to out of obligation. Feel the power of choosing yourself, of protecting your energy, of honoring your boundaries. Notice how empowered you feel, how much lighter. Day 3. Give anonymously. Leave a big tip. Pay for someone's coffee without them knowing. Donate to a cause. Do it without recognition, without thanks, just for the feeling of generosity. This is abundance frequency in action. Day 4. Spend 30 minutes in nature without your phone. Just you and the trees, the sky, the earth. Let nature recalibrate your nervous system. Let it remind you what peace feels like. Day 5. Write a forgiveness letter to someone who hurt you. To yourself. You don't have to send it. Just write it. Let go of the resentment, the grudge, the story. Free yourself from the weight of it. Burn the letter when you're done if that feels right. Day 6. Dance alone in your room for one song. Let yourself move without judgment, without caring how it looks. Just feel the music. Feel your body. Feel alive. This is joy frequency. This is Freedom Day 7. Call someone you've been meaning to reach out to. Don't text, call, hear their voice. Have a real conversation. Connection raises frequency faster than almost anything else. Day 8. Fast from complaining. The entire day. No complaints, out loud or in your head. When the urge comes, pause, breathe, reframe. See how peaceful your inner world becomes without the constant loop of grievance. Day 9. Create something, anything. Draw, write, cook, build. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be made by you. Creating is high frequency. It's you expressing your aliveness. Day 10. Tell someone what you appreciate about them. Be specific. Not just I love you, but I love how you always notice when I'm struggling and check in. I love how you light up when you talk about your passion. Make them feel seen. Day 11. Spend an hour without judgment. Of yourself, of others, of circumstances. Just observe, notice, accept. See how much energy judgment consumes. See how light you feel without it. Day 12. Do something that scares you slightly, not recklessly, but something that pushes your edge. Ask for what you want. Speak up, try something new. Feel the exhilaration of courage. Day 13. Clean out one area completely. A drawer, a closet, your car. Clear the physical, clear the energetic. Make space for new things to enter. Day 14. Write down 10 things you're grateful for, but make them small. The warmth of the sun, the smell of coffee, the sound of laughter. Train your brain to notice the tiny miracles. Day 15. Spend money on an experience, not a thing. A class, a concert, a meal, something that creates a memory. High-frequency lives and experiences, not possessions. Day 16. Meditate for 15 minutes. No app, no guidance. Just sit, breathe, watch your thoughts. Practice being the observer. This is frequency mastery. This is sovereignty. Day 17. Ask for help with something you'd normally struggle through alone. Let someone support you. Receive without guilt. This is abundance. This is trust. Day 18. Smile at 10 people, even if they don't smile back. Especially if they don't. You're not doing it for the response. You're doing it to practice being a source of light. Day 19. Read something that expands you. Not for entertainment, for growth, philosophy, poetry, science. Let your mind stretch. Day 20. Practice the pause. Before you react to anything, pause. 3 seconds, breathe, then respond. Watch how this changes your interactions, your relationships, your life. Day 21. Write a letter to your future self. 1 year from now, describe who you're becoming, what you're creating, how you're feeling. Seal it. Open it in a year. Let it be a prophecy you fulfill. Day 22. Take a different route. To work. To the store. Home. Break the autopilot. Notice new things. Train your brain to see possibility, not just habit. Day 23. Laugh. Intentionally. Watch something funny. Remember something hilarious. Call a friend who makes you laugh. Laughter is medicine. It's frequency alchemy. Day 24. Practice receiving. When someone compliments you, don't deflect. Don't minimize. Just say thank you. Mean it. Let it in. This trains you to be open to good things. Day 25. Move your body. Not exercise, movement, stretch, sway, walk. Get out of your head and into your body. Frequency lives in the body, not the mind. Day 26. Visualize your day going perfectly. In the morning, before you start, see every interaction flowing, every task completing with ease, every moment filled with grace. Set the frequency before you step into the day. Day 27. Practice sacred selfishness. Do one thing just for you. That serves nobody else. That you don't have to justify. A bath, a nap, a drive. Honor yourself as worthy of your own attention. Day 28. Speak your truth about something small. Something you'd normally stay quiet about. Your preference for dinner. Your boundary around plans. Your honest opinion. Practice using your voice. Day 29. Celebrate yourself out loud. List 5 things you're proud of. Things you've accomplished. Ways you've grown. Qualities you love about yourself. Blow your own trumpet. You deserve it. Day 30. Rest. Do nothing. No productivity. No improvement. No hustle. Just be. Let yourself exist without purpose for one day. This is the highest frequency. This is peace. These micro-challenges are designed to rewire you, one small action at a time. They're not overwhelming, but they're consistent, and consistency creates transformation. Do them. Track them. Notice how you feel at the end of 30 days. Notice what's different in your life, in your relationships, in your opportunities. That's frequency at work. Now I want to address something crucial, the identity shift, because at a certain point in this work, you'll realize that frequency isn't something you do. It's something you are. You'll stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying to raise their vibration, and you'll start seeing yourself as someone who naturally vibrates high. This is when everything locks in. This is when it becomes effortless. But getting to this point requires a conscious decision. You have to choose to see yourself differently. You have to upgrade your self-concept. And this is challenging, because your current identity is comfortable, even if it's limiting, even if it's painful. It's familiar, and your brain loves familiar. So when you try to adopt a new identity, your brain will resist. It will whisper, "Who do you think you are?" It will point to past failures as evidence that you can't change. It will make you feel like an imposter. This is normal. This is part of the process. Don't let it stop you. Here's how you make the shift. You create an identity statement. A clear, present tense declaration of who you are now, not who you want to be. Who you are. Examples. I am someone who naturally attracts abundance. I am someone who creates with ease. I am someone who vibrates love. I am someone who trusts life completely. You choose one statement, one identity, and you embody it. You ask yourself throughout the day, how would I be showing up if this were true? How would I be speaking? How would I be moving? What choices would I be making? And you act as if, not to pretend, but to practice. To try on the new identity like a new outfit, to see how it feels. At first, it will feel awkward, like you're playing dress up. But if you stay with it, something shifts. The identity starts to feel more natural, more true, and eventually it becomes who you are. Not because you convinced yourself, but because you lived into it. You proved it to yourself through action. This is the ultimate frequency practice. Because when your identity aligns with your desired frequency, there's no more effort. There's no more trying. You just are. And life reflects that effortlessly. Let me give you one more story. A woman I'll call Lisa. She's an entrepreneur. She's been trying to grow her business for 3 years. She works constantly. She's always hustling. But her income has plateaued. She's stuck at 6 figures and can't break through. She's frustrated. She's exhausted. And she's starting to think she's hit her ceiling. Lisa finds this work. She starts practicing, and after a few months, she has a realization. She's been identifying as someone who has to work hard for money, someone who has to hustle to survive. And that identity is creating a frequency of strain, of effort, of lack. And the universe is responding by making everything feel hard. So she decides to try a new identity. I am someone who attracts clients effortlessly. She writes it down. She says it every morning. And then she asks, how would I be showing up if this were true? The answer surprises her. I'd be relaxed. I'd be confident. I'd be selective. So she starts acting that way. She stops chasing every lead. She stops working 16-hour days. She starts saying no to clients who aren't aligned. She starts taking afternoons off. She starts posting content that feels authentic instead of strategic. She's terrified, because this goes against everything she's been taught. But she commits. 3 months later, her business has doubled. She's working less, earning more, attracting higher quality clients. And when people ask her what changed, she says, "I stopped trying so hard." But that's not quite accurate. What she really did was change her identity. She shifted her frequency. And life responded, "This is available to you, this identity shift, this effortless creation." But you have to be willing to let go of who you've been, to step into who you're becoming, even when it feels uncertain, even when your brain screams it's not safe. You have to trust, you have to leap, and you have to know that the universe will catch you, because it always does. When you're in alignment, you're supported, always. As we move toward the close of this journey together, I want to give you one final practice. The frequency check-in. This is something you do weekly, every Sunday evening, or whatever day works for you. You sit down with a journal, and you assess, you write. This week my dominant frequency was blank. You name it honestly. Maybe it was anxiety. Maybe it was joy. Maybe it was confusion. Whatever it was, you own it. No judgment, just truth. Then you write. This frequency created these results. You list what showed up in your life. The opportunities, the challenges, the interactions, the synchronicities. You connect the dots between your inner state and your outer reality. This is how you prove the law to yourself. This is how you build trust in the process. Then you write. Next week I choose to vibrate blank. You name the frequency you're calling in, and you write 3 actions you'll take to embody it. 3 practices, 3 commitments. Make them specific. Make them doable. Finally you write, "I release this." And you list anything you need to let go of. Old beliefs, old stories, old identities, old resentments. You name them. You thank them for what they taught you. And you consciously release them. You visualize them leaving your field. You breathe them out. You make space for the new. This weekly practice keeps you conscious. It keeps you accountable. It keeps you growing. And over time you'll have a record, a written testament to your evolution, to the frequencies you've moved through, to the reality you've created. Read back through it when you doubt, when you forget, when you need proof. It's all there, in your own handwriting. In your own experience, you've been given everything you need. The principles, the practices, the protocols, the proof. Now it's up to you. Will you use them? Will you commit? Will you do the work even when it's uncomfortable? Even when you don't see results yet? Even when people around you don't understand? Because this path is not for the faint of heart. It requires courage. It requires consistency. It requires a willingness to take full responsibility for your reality. No more blaming, no more victim stories, no more waiting for someone else to save you. You are the one. You are the creator. You are the frequency. And when you own that, when you fully embody that, everything changes. Your relationships transform. Your career explodes. Your health improves. Your joy returns. Not because you got lucky, but because you aligned. You tuned in. You vibrated right. And life obeyed. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning. You're stepping into a new paradigm, a new way of being, a new relationship with reality, and it's going to be challenging. There will be days you want to quit, days you doubt everything, days you fall back into old patterns, but you won't stay there because you know too much now. You've felt the power of alignment. You've seen what's possible, and you can't unsee it. So keep going. Keep practicing. Keep choosing. Keep tuning. And know that with every choice, with every breath, with every moment of awareness, you're strengthening your frequency. You're becoming more magnetic. You're stepping more fully into your power. The universe is not separate from you. You are not a small, powerless being in a vast, indifferent cosmos. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are consciousness creating form. You are energy shaping matter. And when you remember that, when you live from that, you become unstoppable. So vibrate right. Choose your frequency with intention. Hold it with coherence. Live it with authenticity. And watch as life bends, shifts, and rearranges itself to match. This is your birthright. This is your power. This is your truth. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for being willing to look inward. Thank you for choosing growth over comfort. Thank you for being here. The world needs your frequency. It needs your light. It needs the unique signal that only you can broadcast. So go forth. Create boldly. Love deeply. Trust completely. And remember, always remember, when you vibrate right, life obeys. Not someday, not eventually, now, in this moment, in every moment, forever. You are the frequency. You are the signal. You are the creator. Own it. Live it. Be it. And watch miracles become your new normal. Now let's get deeply practical with relapse proofing, because understanding the law is one thing. Living it consistently is another. This is where most people stumble. They have a breakthrough moment. They feel the shift. They see results. And then life throws them a curveball, an unexpected bill, a rejection, a betrayal, and suddenly they're back in the old frequency, back in fear, back in doubt, wondering if any of it was real. This is what I call the relapse, and it's completely normal, expected even, because you're rewiring decades of conditioning. You're building new neural pathways. You're training your nervous system to operate differently, and that takes time. The key is not to avoid the relapse. It's to have a plan for when it happens, because it will happen multiple times, and each time is an opportunity to strengthen your practice. Here's your relapse-proofing plan. First, you need to recognize the early warning signs. Relapse doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. It starts with small slips. You wake up and instead of setting your frequency, you scroll your phone. You get triggered by something and instead of pausing to breathe, you react. You notice a negative thought and instead of redirecting it, you let it spiral. These are the early signs. The cracks in your coherence. The moment you notice them, you activate your emergency protocol. This is a set of tools you've prepared in advance for exactly this moment. Think of it like a fire extinguisher. You don't wait until the house is burning to figure out how it works. You prepare ahead of time. Your emergency protocol has 3 steps. First, pause. Literally stop whatever you're doing. Take 3 deep breaths. This interrupts the pattern. It creates space between stimulus and response. Second, acknowledge. Say to yourself, out loud if possible, I'm out of alignment right now. That's okay. I'm human. I'm choosing to return. This removes shame. Shame keeps you stuck. Acknowledgement creates movement. Third, choose one micro-action that will shift your frequency. Not 10 things. 1 thing. Maybe it's putting on a song that lifts you. Maybe it's going outside for 2 minutes. Maybe it's texting a friend who always makes you laugh. Something small. Something doable. Something that creates an immediate shift. Do this micro-action right away. Don't wait. Don't negotiate. Just do it. And watch how your energy changes. It won't be a complete turnaround. You won't go from despair to joy in 30 seconds, but you'll shift a few degrees. And a few degrees is all you need to start the momentum back toward alignment. Let me give you an example. There's a man I'll call James. He's been working with frequency for 6 months. He's seen incredible results. His business has grown. His relationships have improved. He feels more at peace than he has in years. Then one morning he wakes up to an email. A major client is pulling out of a contract. No warning, no explanation, just gone. And with them, 30% of his revenue. James feels his stomach drop. Panic floods in. His mind starts racing. How am I going to pay my team? What if other clients leave too? What if this is the beginning of everything falling apart? He can feel himself spiraling. He can feel the old frequency taking over. Fear, scarcity, catastrophe. And for a moment he gives into it. He lets himself freak out, but then he remembers. He remembers the work he's been doing. He remembers that this moment, this exact moment, is the test. This is where he proves whether he's really changed or whether he was just lucky for a while. So he stops. He closes his laptop. He takes 3 deep breaths. And he says out loud, I'm out of alignment right now. That's okay. I'm human. I'm choosing to return. Then he does his micro-action. For James, it's a 5-minute walk around the block. He doesn't try to solve the problem. He doesn't make a plan. He just walks. He feels his feet on the ground. He notices the trees. He lets his nervous system regulate. And by the time he gets back, something has shifted. The panic is still there, but it's not consuming him. There's space around it now. Room to breathe. Room to think. He sits down and asks himself, what frequency am I choosing here? He could choose fear. He could broadcast, this is a disaster. I'm failing. Everything's falling apart. And if he did, that frequency would attract more evidence to support it. More problems, more losses, more confirmation that things are going wrong. Or he could choose something different. He could broadcast this as information. James chooses the second frequency, not because he feels it fully, but because he knows that's the frequency that will serve him. So he practices feeling it. He sits quietly for 10 minutes and imagines what it would feel like if this client leaving was actually the best thing that could happen. What if it created space for a better client? What if it forced him to diversify in a way that would ultimately strengthen his business? What if it was protection from something he couldn't see yet? He doesn't have to believe these things are true. He just has to open to the possibility. And in that opening, his frequency shifts. He moves from contraction to expansion, from fear to curiosity, from victim to creator. And once he's in that frequency, he takes action. He reaches out to other potential clients. He looks at expenses he can trim temporarily. He has honest conversations with his team, and he does all of it from a place of trust rather than panic. 3 weeks later, James lands 2 new clients. Together they bring in more revenue than the one he lost, and they're better fits, more aligned with the direction he wants to take his business. When he tells this story later, he says, "Losing that client was the best thing that happened to me. It forced me to level up." But the truth is, it didn't force him to do anything. He chose how to respond. He chose his frequency. And life responded to that choice. This is relapse proofing in action. It's not about never getting knocked down. It's about knowing how to get back up. Fast, efficiently, without the drama of thinking you've failed or that the work doesn't work. You haven't failed. The work does work. You're just in the messy middle of mastery. And the messy middle is where the real transformation happens. Here's another scenario that tests your frequency. A woman I'll call Rachel. She's been single for 2 years. She's done the inner work. She's healed from her last relationship. She's clear on what she wants. She's vibrating from a place of wholeness, not neediness. And then she meets someone. He's everything she asked for. Kind, ambitious, emotionally available. They have an amazing first date. Then a second. Then a third. She's starting to feel hopeful. Starting to open her heart, and then he ghosts. No explanation. No closure. Just disappears. Rachel is devastated. Not because she was attached to him specifically, but because she thought she was doing everything right. She thought she was vibrating at the right frequency. And yet this happened. So what does it mean? Did she do something wrong? Is the universe telling her she's not ready? Is she broken somehow? These are the thoughts that flood in when you're triggered. And they're all frequency killers. They're all broadcasts of lack, of not enoughness, of victimhood. And if Rachel lets herself marinate in them, they'll become her new frequency, and she'll attract more experiences that confirm them. But Rachel has been practicing. So after a day of feeling her feelings, of crying and being angry and hurt, she catches herself. She notices the story she's telling, the frequency she's broadcasting, and she makes a choice. She chooses to reframe. She says to herself, "This is not about me. This is about him. He's not ready. He's not aligned. And the universe just saved me months or years of trying to make something work with someone who wasn't capable of showing up." This is protection. This is redirection. This is the universe saying, "I have something better for you. Trust me." She doesn't feel this fully at first, but she practices it. She repeats it. She lets it sink in, and slowly her frequency shifts. The hurt is still there, but underneath it is trust. Underneath it is knowing. Underneath it is the unwavering belief that she is worthy of real love, and that real love is coming. 2 months later, she meets someone else. Someone better. Someone who shows up consistently. Someone who matches her effort. Someone who doesn't ghost. And when she looks back, she's grateful the first guy disappeared. Because if he hadn't, she wouldn't have been available for this one. This is frequency mastery. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about moving through it consciously. It's about not letting temporary circumstances derail your long-term knowing. It's about trusting the process even when the process looks like failure. Because it's not failure. It's refinement. It's the universe course-correcting. It's life guiding you toward what you actually want, not what you thought you wanted. Now let's talk about advanced frequency practices. Once you've built your foundation, once you've mastered the basics, there are deeper layers to explore. Practices that will amplify your frequency even more. Practices that will accelerate your manifestations. Practices that will attune you to subtler energies. The first advanced practice is called frequency stacking. This is when you layer multiple high-frequency states on top of each other. You start with gratitude. You feel it fully. Then you add in joy. Then you add in love. Then you add in peace. Each layer amplifies the one beneath it. And by the time you've stacked 4 or 5 high-frequency emotions, you're vibrating at a level most people never access. From this state, manifestation is nearly instantaneous. Here's how you do it. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Think of something you're grateful for. Really feel the gratitude in your chest. Let it expand. Once it's strong, hold it there. Then think of something that brings you joy. Feel the joy layering on top of the gratitude. Once you have both, think of someone you love. Feel the love layering on top of the joy and gratitude. Keep going. Add peace. Add excitement. Add trust. Stack them until you feel like you're radiating. Until your entire body is humming with high-frequency energy. Then, from that state, think about what you desire. Don't force it. Just let it float into your awareness. And notice how different it feels when you approach it from this stacked frequency versus approaching it from your normal state. This is the frequency from which creation happens. This is the frequency that bends reality. Practice this once a week and watch what shows up in your life. Watch how opportunities multiply, how synchronicities increase, how things start falling into place with less effort. This is high-level work, and it's incredibly powerful. The second advanced practice is called future memory creation. This is when you create a memory of something that hasn't happened yet. Your brain doesn't distinguish between real memories and vividly imagined ones. When you imagine something with enough detail and emotion, your brain encodes it as if it already happened. And once it's encoded as a memory, your subconscious starts working to make it real. Here's how you do it. Choose something you want to manifest. Let's say it's getting a promotion. Instead of visualizing it as a future event, you remember it as a past event. You sit quietly and you think back to the day you got the promotion. You remember where you were, who told you, how you felt, what you said, what you did to celebrate. You create the memory with as much detail as possible. The texture of the paper in your hand, the smell of the office, the sound of your colleagues' congratulations, the warmth in your chest. You do this every day for a week. And each time you add more detail, you make the memory richer, more real, more felt. And what happens is your subconscious starts treating it like something that already happened. And because it already happened in your mind, your subconscious looks for ways to make the external reality match. You start taking actions you wouldn't have taken, noticing opportunities you would have missed, showing up differently, and before you know it, the memory becomes reality. This practice is potent. Use it carefully. Use it ethically. Use it for things that are in alignment with your highest good, because it works. The third advanced practice is called energetic clearing. This is when you actively remove old frequencies from your field. Because even after you've done a lot of inner work, there can still be residue. Old patterns, old beliefs, old traumas. They're not running the show anymore, but they're still there, like dust in the corners. And every so often, you need to clear them out. Here's how you do it. Lie down somewhere comfortable. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Then scan your body. Start at the top of your head and slowly move down. Notice any areas of tension, any heaviness, any discomfort. When you find one, pause. Breathe into it and ask, what is this? What old frequency is this? What am I holding on to? You might get an answer. You might get an image. You might get a memory. Whatever comes, acknowledge it. Say thank you for trying to protect me. I don't need you anymore. I'm releasing you now. Then imagine that tension, that heaviness, dissolving, melting away, leaving your body. Imagine it being absorbed by the earth beneath you, being transmuted into neutral energy. Continue scanning your entire body. Clear each area, and by the time you're done, you'll feel lighter, more spacious, more clear. Do this once a month, or whenever you feel heavy, whenever you feel like you're carrying something that isn't yours. This is energetic hygiene, and it's essential for maintaining a high frequency. The fourth advanced practice is called quantum jumping. This is when you consciously shift from one timeline to another, from one version of reality to another. Because there are infinite versions of you living infinite versions of your life, and you have the ability to choose which one you're experiencing. This sounds wild, I know. But stay with me. Every choice you make creates a branching point, a new timeline. In one timeline, you took the job. In another, you didn't. In one timeline, you stayed in the relationship. In another, you left. And all of these timelines exist. Here's how you do it. Get clear on what version of reality you want to experience. Let's say you want to experience the timeline where you're financially free. Close your eyes. Imagine a version of you that already exists who is financially free. See them clearly. How do they carry themselves? How do they think? How do they feel? What's their daily life like? Now imagine stepping into that version of you, like putting on a costume. But instead of a costume, it's a frequency. You step into their frequency. You feel what they feel. You think what they think. You are them. And from that place, you ask, what would I do today? What choice would I make? What action would I take? Then you open your eyes, and you do that thing. This is quantum jumping. You're not waiting to become that version of you. You're choosing to be them now. And when you make choices from that frequency, you align with that timeline, and reality shifts to match. Let me give you a detailed example of quantum jumping in action. There's a man I'll call Marcus. He's stuck in a job he hates. Middle management, corporate politics, soul-crushing meetings. He's been there for 8 years. The pay is decent. The benefits are good, but he's miserable. He dreams of starting his own business, being his own boss, creating something meaningful, but he's terrified. What if it fails? What if he loses everything? What if he's not capable? So he stays stuck, daydreaming about a different life but never taking action. until he learns about quantum jumping, and he decides to try it. He closes his eyes and imagines a version of himself who already made the leap, who already left the corporate job, who already built a successful business. He sees this version clearly. This Marcus is confident, relaxed, excited about his work. He moves through his day with purpose and joy. Marcus steps into this version. He feels the confidence, the relaxation, the excitement. And from that place, he asks, what would I do today? And the answer comes immediately. I'd start small. I'd work on my business in the evenings. I'd test my ideas without quitting my job yet. I'd build momentum. I'd prove to myself it's possible. So that's what Marcus does. He starts spending 2 hours every evening on his business idea. He's not trying to make it perfect. He's just moving, taking action, building, and something interesting happens. The more he does this, the more he embodies the frequency of the successful Marcus. And the more he embodies that frequency, the easier everything becomes. Ideas flow, opportunities appear, clients show up. And within 6 months, his side business is making as much as his corporate job, and he realizes he doesn't have to choose between security and freedom anymore. He can have both. He can transition gradually, and when he finally does leave his job, it's not a leap of faith. It's a natural next step, because he already became the version of himself who succeeded. He just had to let reality catch up. This is quantum jumping. And it works because you're not trying to force a new reality. You're aligning with one that already exists. You're choosing it, embodying it, living into it, and reality reflects that choice. Now let's talk about what happens when you become truly masterful at this. When frequency work is no longer something you do, but something you are. When alignment is your default. When high vibration is your baseline. What does that look like? It looks like ease. Not because you don't have challenges, but because you don't resist them. You flow with them. You trust them. You see them as information, not as problems. You move through life with a quiet confidence, a knowing. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to force anything. You just are. And from that beingness, everything you need comes to you. It looks like magnetism. People are drawn to you. Opportunities find you. Synchronicities are normal. You think about someone and they call. You need something and it shows up. You wonder about something and the answer appears. It's not magic. It's just you being so aligned that the universe can communicate with you clearly, can guide you easily, can deliver to you effortlessly. It looks like peace. Deep peace. Not the kind that requires perfect circumstances. The kind that exists beneath everything. The kind that knows no matter what happens, you're okay. You're held. You're loved. This peace is your foundation. And from it, everything else builds. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Elena. She's been practicing frequency work for 2 years. She's manifested a lot. A new career. A loving relationship. Financial stability. She's proof that this works. But then her mother gets sick. Diagnosed with cancer. Stage 4. The doctors give her 6 months. Elena is devastated. She feels her entire world collapsing. And for the first time since she started this work, she questions everything. How can I vibrate high when my mother is dying? How can I practice gratitude when I'm losing her? How can I talk about manifestation when I can't manifest her healing? She feels like a fraud. Like everything she's learned is useless in the face of real suffering. She stops her practices. She stops setting her frequency. She lets herself sink into the grief. And for a while, that's okay. Because grief is valid. It's necessary. You can't bypass it with spiritual concepts. But weeks turn into months. And Elena realizes she's stuck. She's not just grieving. She's drowning. And her mother, in the time she has left, doesn't want to see her daughter drowning. She wants to see her living. So Elena makes a choice. She's going to practice frequency work, not to avoid the pain, but to be present with it. She's going to choose alignment not because everything is fine, but because alignment is how she wants to meet this experience. She starts small. 1 breath, 1 moment of gratitude, 1 conscious choice. And slowly, degree by degree, she finds her way back. She's not happy. She's not in denial, but she's present. She's there with her mother, really there, not lost in fear of the future or regret about the past. Just there, and in that presence something beautiful happens. She and her mother have conversations they never had before. Deep, honest, healing. They laugh together. They cry together. They say everything that needs to be said. When her mother passes, Elena is heartbroken. But she's not destroyed. She's grateful. Grateful for the time they had. Grateful for the healing that happened. Grateful that she didn't spend those last months trapped in resistance. And she realizes that frequency work isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about choosing how you meet them. It's about being the highest version of yourself regardless of circumstances. That's true mastery. Elena's story is important because it shows you that this work isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything is great when it's not. It's about choosing your frequency consciously, even in the midst of pain, even in the face of loss, even when life is hard. Because when you do that, you don't suffer less. You suffer consciously, with dignity, with grace, with presence. And that changes everything. Here's a final advanced practice for the truly committed. It's called living from the end. This is when you embody the frequency of your desired reality so completely that the external has no choice but to match. You don't wait for circumstances to change before you feel fulfilled. You feel fulfilled now. And from that fulfillment, circumstances rearrange themselves. Let's say you want financial freedom. Most people think I'll feel free when I have the money. But that's backwards. The feeling doesn't come after the money. The feeling attracts the money. So you practice feeling financially free now. Not by pretending you have money you don't have, but by embodying the emotional frequency of freedom, of security, of abundance. You might do this by being generous with what you have, by making purchasing decisions without fear, by speaking about money with ease instead of stress, by carrying yourself as someone who knows they're supported. At first, this feels like lying, because your bank account doesn't reflect it. But you're not lying. You're tuning. You're adjusting your frequency to match what you want to attract. And as you hold that frequency consistently, things start to shift. You get a raise. An unexpected check arrives. A debt is forgiven. Opportunities to make money appear, not because you forced them, but because your frequency called them in. This works for any area. If you want love, embody the frequency of being loved. If you want success, embody the frequency of being successful. If you want health, embody the frequency of being healthy. Not someday, today, right now, this moment. And watch reality bend to match. But here's the critical piece that most people miss. Living from the end requires detachment. You have to be willing to feel fulfilled even if the external never changes. That's true mastery. That's when you're no longer manipulating. You're creating from pure frequency, from pure choice, from pure alignment. And paradoxically, that's when manifestation becomes effortless. Because you're no longer attached to outcomes. You're no longer gripping. You're no longer desperate. You're just being, and being at a high frequency is the most magnetic state there is. Now for your final integration, the weekly frequency audit. This is something you do every Sunday evening, or whatever day works for you. You sit down with a journal, and you assess. You write. This week, my dominant frequency was blank. You name it honestly. Maybe it was anxiety. Maybe it was joy. Maybe it was confusion. Whatever it was, you own it. No judgment, just truth. Then you write. This frequency created these results. You list what showed up in your life. The opportunities, the challenges, the interactions, the synchronicities. You connect